Let us turn now to my wise friend, my colleague, host of The ReidOut, Joy Reid. Joy, thank you for being here tonight.
I am so glad to be here, and you gave me a great excuse to stay a little longer and watch the debate.
Yeah. What did you think of it?
So I think that T is correct, that no minds are going to be changed. And I think any minds can be changed in any of these races. People are locked in. And Republican voters who are choosing Herschel Walker, he's polling at like 45, 46%, they have already built in any of their feelings about his many, many lies. I pulled up sort of a non-exhaustive list of his lies. I mean, this guy said that he trained at Quantico.
Have to have a long list.
This is like non-exhaustive. He made up charities and said he gave percentages of his income to charity. Not true, not true, not true. I mean, literally saying that he graduated at the top of his class in college when he didn't graduate from college, right? And
in addition to everything else we know he lied
in addition to everything else. And they've already baked that in and said they don't care. Because what Republican voters want is the seat. And I think that the sad thing about it is, I think that anyone who's being honest about it understands even, what the lieutenant governor of Georgia said. He's only the candidate because he was cast by Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And so what you saw tonight was a guy who was heavily scripted. He stuck to the script. He was told, say these three things: 96%, 96%, 96%, Joe Biden, Joe Biden, Joe Biden.
Raphael Warnock voted with Joe Biden 96% of the time.
Just say that over and over again.
Lash Raphael Warnock to Joe Biden, and that's your strategy.
Yeah.
But and to your point, I think we have a quote from Shelley Winter, a black conservative radio show host in Atlanta, considers Herschel Walker a means to an end. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't look so good for Herschel, but my vote is strictly about control of the Senate, period. We need every seat.
It's literally about doing the bidding of Donald Trump, and Donald Trump has said he wants the Senate back. And so he's just a vehicle to it. But what I think is unfortunate, it does demonstrate a lack of, respect for, interest in the sort of quality of the politician that you're sending to represent you. They really don't care. And they don't care. And by the way, we didn't get to the theatrics because there was the SNL moment. Let's not forget, he's Donald Trump, right? He's doing the Donald Trump, so he comes with a prop. Let's say I had a prop. He had this. He said...
You have one, too.
I have one, too, because
Where can I get one?
This, to me, is what's going to be the takeaway from this debate, because nothing else in it was actually... nothing else moved the debate. But this moment is the moment that's going to get reproduced on Saturday Night Live because it was Herschel Walker doing a Donald Trump. He decided to pull a theatrical move. It elicited absolute laughter. It's ridiculous. He's not a police officer.
Yes.
So there's no reason.
Just plays one on TV.
There is no more reason for him to have a badge than there is for me to have
this badge. And you're not claiming that you're a police officer. But I do want to talk about Warnock's strategy, because it is consistent with the strategy that we saw. I mean, I thought of Barack Obama in debates where I think a lot of people were frustrated and they think, you're so much smarter than this guy. How come you're not being more aggressive? Why can't you go for the jugular? It's a decision on Warnock's part. And I know Tia Mitchell said part of it is there may be a feeling in the Warnock campaign that there's some vulnerabilities in terms of his past divorce and relationship with his ex-wife. But the excess of scandal that clouds Herschel Walker's candidacy is too rich to stay away from unless you really are making a concerted effort not to have that as part of your strategy. And I wonder if there's something deeper here about expectations for candidates like Barack Obama and like Reverend Warnock.
You're absolutely right. And I think this is the difference between the expectations of Democratic voters and the independent voters who choose to vote for Democrats and the expectations of Republican voters. Republican voters don't care if the candidate of their choice is violent toward women. They don't care if he put a gun to the head of his former wife. They don't care if in their minds he's a murderer because they believe abortion is murder. He's a means to an end, and as long as he is the one thing they need him to be, compliant. He will be compliant. He will vote the way Trump wants him to vote. Mitch McConnell wants him to vote. He will vote the way the party wants him to vote for the ends that those voters want. They don't care who he is or what he is. I don't care if he started off by saying, I want to start by thanking my Lord Jesus Christ, which is how we started. Doesn't matter. The Christianity isn't even a factor for them, really. But for Democratic voters and the independent voters, and let's be honest, white moderate voters are also going to be the ones voting for Raphael Warnock.
And he's been actively courting them.
And so what you have to be, if you're Barack Obama or you're Raphael Warnock, is measured. Is not angry, is not attacking, is not aggressive. Because for Democratic candidates, there's a different expectation of dignity. There's a different demand for dignity. And you have to, I mean, remember, President Obama, Barack Obama, when he was running, it was said that he was the least angry black man in America. That's the only way he could win. And that is the same charge that Raphael Warnock.
Well, that idea of the angry black man hangs over. It clouds kind of, I think, the way that incredibly accomplished black candidates feel they have to comport themselves.